Hi, my name is Chuck Teusch. I'm the founder and CEO of Children's Library International, and out of that we have Library of Vietnam project. And this relates to our grant application in 2014. And back in 2013 we applied and we got some questions from Jeff Tran of the membership committee. And I just thought that maybe I'd try to respond to these questions in the context of our reapplication here this year. The first one is how did you come up with your cause, and why did you choose it? Coming up with the cause was really a two-step process. One was being born on a dairy farm in Wisconsin, and number two was getting drafted into the American Army in 1969. Our foundation, I started back in 1999 when I went back to Vietnam the first time after the war. And I come from a family where education was valued, although my father only went through 8th grade. But he had 5 kids, never had any money to put anybody through college, but all 5 kids graduated through college. And all 5 have been successful in their own right. So the real origin comes from the family, much like it does in a Vietnamese family. As to the specific cause, why education, why Vietnam, that's where the war comes in. I went to Vietnam 1969, 1970, in Quang Ngai province in the Central Highlands near Duc Pho, and saw a lot of Vietnamese people, a lot of poverty. War and oppression had taken its toll over many years, as the Vietnamese community knows far better than we Americans do. But that said, in the wartime, as an infantryman, I really didn't have a chance to meet many Vietnamese on a personal level. But to the extent that I did see Vietnamese, I thought, you know, I'll bet you this is a people I would really like if I really got to know them. So that kind of rolled around in my mind for years. I came back, went to college, went to law school, practiced law in Chicago, was in politics. Finally, in 1999, on the 30th anniversary, I decided I'd go back, which I did. We went back to Duc Pho, but what our country really needs is libraries. And we had a long discussion about that, and that rang familiar with me coming from a dairy farm in countryside in Wisconsin that was well served by a local free public library for poor people like we were, relatively speaking. So we decided to build one. It turned out to be a good project because I ran into the right guy, a good local leader who built a good project and now manages and administers it some 14 years later, 15 years later. So that's the origin of the idea and the specific cause of us executing on the idea. How does your organization help the UNAVSA, and how would UNAVSA members participate in our efforts? This is one of the advantages of our project. We feel is it's user-friendly because we need users. We don't have a lot of money, but we have a lot of good people, and some money does follow that. Our point is that specifically in our Puppet Caravan program idea, it's taken off as something that we've been a part of in Laos for a number of years. And the idea is to get people from both sides of the ocean to work together to create kind of a reading is fun program, much like an American program that was started many years ago called Reading is Fundamental. So among the ways that Vietnamese in, say, Texas or California might participate in this activity would be to be in touch with our Vietnamese on the ground in Hanoi, Saigon, and Da Nang, and the more rural areas, and work together to put together themes and programs for these small stage performances, along with music and other cultural amenities to put on these programs. And the programs would run from Binh Dinh in the south, which is near Quy Nhon, about 200 kilometers north of Saigon, on up to Quang Tri province, which is the province that straddles the old demilitarized zone. That's where most of our libraries are. And so there's a lot of opportunity for participation, not only for Vietnamese students here, that want to come to Vietnam, but they can participate right here through the wonders of the internet. And that is our real goal here, is to utilize the internet and the World Wide Web to build bridges between Vietnamese here and their countrymen back in Vietnam. And this includes for kids learning English, health education, just about, well, anything you can imagine. The internet has played a role in improving the lives of people around the world and will help improve the lives of people in Vietnam. How does your organization plan on measuring your success? Numbers are great, but enthusiasm's tougher to measure. But we would expect to number it both ways. We know how many students are using our library, say, in Hai Lang district of Quang Tri province. But we would monitor it also by making it an international production. There's an excitement in this, is because this again brings the World Wide Web into introducing Vietnamese in the countryside in Vietnam to Vietnamese in America, or my fellow Americans too. Through the internet, we would hope to have Skype transmissions from the puppet show presentation, say in Hai Lang, on the internet and stream on the web. We've done this in Laos and it works, and that's one way we'll do it. Another way we do it is just, we always come back, and that's been a theme since I started this for everybody in our group. And we always come back, harkens back to one, that America left Vietnam and left many Vietnamese high and dry, as history tells us. But that's part of it. But the other part of it is, when we always come back, we come back to see how they're doing and to continue the project we started. And that's going to be an important part of this process, is that the first year is only the beginning year of the puppet program. The puppet program is much bigger than just the puppet shows. The mobile bookmobile by UNAVSA and Library of Vietnam Project will travel the countryside with its logo on the truck throughout the year, even aside from the 2 periods we target for these tours to put on these reading caravan programs and gifts for kids, which include first book gifts and other things. The question of what would you do when and if you reach your goal is that there's no answer to that, because it's really not a legitimate question. This is about education. Education, number one, is a lifelong experience. And for people that believe that, they tend to be happier people, I find, on a personal note, but also on a practical note. They tend to have more successful lives, successful families. We're welcoming a lot of young Vietnamese, and particularly in Chicago, Milwaukee, and in Hanoi and Da Nang and Saigon and in the countrysides of Vietnam to our project, because they are really the future. We're the old guys now. But they know, as we do, that education is an ongoing thing no matter how young or old you are. It enriches your life and enriches your family, but also there are new kids coming along. So we don't see an end to the project, we just see a legacy to the project. If you had to explain your cause in 30 seconds or less, what would you say? Knowledge is power. And we believe that. It is for you, it is for me, and it is for a kid in the mountains of Laos or Vietnam. And it's the power to crawl out of poverty, it's the power to dream, it's the power to think and look forward to life and have a better life. And it is everything that is needed to build a brighter future for a country, but also for a family and for an individual. And knowledge is power. And we want to give that power to the poor and the disadvantaged around Vietnam in the remote areas. We'll let somebody else take care of Hanoi, Da Nang, and Saigon. Thank you.